and then I'm gonna do the countdown. Hello, 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 everyone. This is Shayna Asby. Of course, you know I am the family life coach. I'm coming to you today with Transformative Shifts. This show is about people who have gone through real life experiences. Either they're going through it and getting healing, or they're on the other side of it and they have healed from it, but they're sharing with you their personal testimonies. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I have a special guest. Definitely a special guest. This brother right here, when he is definitely a father, not just a father, he's in the ministry. He actually coaches rap artists, so different artists. He coached them. He's getting into acting. Man, he's just taking the stage by force. And it's so funny. I was talking on the phone with him the other day and I said, "Brother, brother, brother, do you know that as you're speaking, you're actually singing? It's like poetry." Like, so you're constantly, so it's constantly all the time. He's in his mindset of poetry and what he's going to say next. So I just want to introduce you to this person, Mr. We call him Coach T, but Coach Tyrone Thomas. I want to introduce you to him and to let him introduce you to himself. So, Coach Tyrone, it is on you. Welcome, everybody.
How's everybody doing? All right. Now that was a very different type of intro from what I'm used to. But while you were talking, I was trying to get this shared on Facebook, get some of the people that I know to come inside. But yeah, everything that you said is accurate. I do coach people. You say I'm in the ministry. I guess I am. Uh, um, so yeah, I do coach, and I was just last night. I was just on a judgment panel for a showcase and coaching artists on their stage presentation and their performance. You know, I'm very happy to be here. Shane and me and you connected in a community that we're both a part of for our coaching and what we do and helping people elevate in our chosen field. So I'm very excited to be on here this morning with everybody, and I can't wait to get into what we got to talk about.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, yes, yes. So the title of our show today is, what is it? To triumph. What is it? Trauma into
From
triumph.
trauma to
Woo!
triumph.
From trauma to triumph. So with
Yeah.
trauma to triumph, anytime we hear the word trauma, is something that happens in our lives that was unexpected or we didn't expect, right?
Right.
And that's just life, period. But
Mhm.
sometimes we have those situations that come through and kind of like shake us up.
Right.
When it comes to trauma with me, oh my goodness, like it gets serious. Sometimes it actually sits me down for probably a year or two just to read, just to come back to myself because of the trauma of being so impactful that I have to become it causes you to become a new creature, right? Because
Okay.
you have went through something. That's how I look at it.
I
Because
got you.
now you have to adjust with the situation that happened to you. And a lot of
Hmm.
times we don't even go back to the person that we were,
Right.
through
Well,
trauma.
that's true. That's true. But I don't want to step on what you're saying. Did you
Right.
finish your thought?
Yeah, yeah. So just basically talk to us about the title Trauma to Triumph. Triumph.
Yeah. So from trauma to triumph, like you said, the response to trauma is very typical in how we respond to it. We don't know any other way than to when something happens to us that's negative. Um, it shapes the way we move, right? That trauma can be so if you are at like you're 8 feet tall and you have an 8 foot capacity, right? This trauma comes and it puts you in a 6 foot box. And this trauma will tell you, well, based on what happened to me before, I'm going to limit myself and move in accordance with this box here. But like you said, some things happen to you and it'll set you down for a year. that's not the best way to handle it. But we don't know that, right? So that's the importance of people like us who have set ourselves up as coaches, because we can help to coach you out of the box that the trauma puts you in, right? So that's where we get PTSD. When you break PTSD down, it is post traumatic, right? After a
Hmm.
traumatic event. And then what it really is, you have a disorder in processing stress signals. So the trauma gave you a disorder to when you feel stress and you feel similar situations to the traumatic event, you have an adverse reaction. It's like the best way I describe it is you become allergic to stress because you have to properly process the trauma. So
Right.
now you have defense mechanisms to keep you from being traumatized again. But they most of the time they're unhealthy.
Hmm. Yes, I definitely agree with that. So I guess where the trauma has came in different for me is, yes, we definitely, because the great thing about it is when you go through trauma, you want to look for somebody to assist you with it. Going
Right.
through, therapy is definitely essential.
Right.
Reaching out to other people who have may have went through the same experiences. That's where coaches come in,
Right.
come into play,
Right.
and helping you get through it. But what I tell people all the time is that we have our different way of healing. You get
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's the same thing as grief.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't grieve the same, and there's no time limit on how long you grieve. You
Right.
grieve, but you just don't get stuck there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just know that you have to face some things, face it
Right.
to get over it so you won't be stuck in that place of grief. And
Right.
so that's how I feel about trauma. Trauma is the same way because again, depending on how many, depending on the status or how hard of a trauma it was, it could be, life shaking. So
Right.
have you ever had some trauma in your life that was just that life shaking to where it took a little bit more time to get
Mm-hmm.
over or for
Right.
you to assess it and to learn from it?
Of course. Yeah.
Would
So
you like to share?
uh yeah, I'm willing to share. It's just I got so much
Sorry.
experience, so do you have any areas specifically?
No.
Right. Okay. Um, I think the earliest example of some trauma that shaped my life would be just uh family issues. So I'm 40 years old and I was born in 81. So can you hear me? I want to make sure
Yes.
I'm talking
Yes.
into the mic. Um, I was born in 81, so that means crack was a new drug. So it was all throughout my family. My parents, every member of my immediate family was on crack at one point at the same time. So um, you
Hmm.
can't be a drug addict on such a hard substance and parent of the year, So there were a lot of situations from things that I needed growing up that I didn't have. Trauma as far as things that were going on in the house, things that I was exposed to, that I seen, that I overheard, or fights, just an unsafe environment. And then that trickles down into me being a kid where everything I wore, I didn't have new clothes until my teens, until I was able to have a job. My haircut was trash. I'm dark skinned with 4C hair. So when you show up, especially in that time, all my clothes are from thrift stores. Um, I'm not socially accepted. So my clothes aren't right. My skin's too dark. My hair's too nappy. My haircut ain't right. My shoes are from Payless. They're all Pro Wings and XJ 900. So, so my trauma on top of whatever's going on with in the house with the addictions, and then compound that with the inability to socially interact.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there were a lot of issues with that. So, with what I shared there, is there anything, any questions that information opens up?
Wow, just, hearing you, talk about the trauma, within that, from a early childhood. Like we hear about, it's a lot more women that share their stories when it comes to things that they've experienced.
Right.
So where a lot of men date there, it's like it's hard for us or for them to open up, and we want to help so bad, but they don't really, it's like they don't really want to let it go. and
Um,
and I feel like it's hard for both people, you get what I'm saying, like for
right.
men and women to kind of like come together and learn each other if we don't break down these walls,
Right.
of what you experience and which I experience. And us as women too, we have to learn how not to be so judgmental when they do open up, because then it comes to, oh, we feel like that men shouldn't have no emotion. Oh, they
Right.
too soft or they too hard. Or that, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But we ask for them to open up and then we shut them up. So that's a problem. And I thank you for coming on and just, explaining to us, some of the things that you went through coming up in that household. So when you were a child coming up in a household like that, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts about life in general and life itself, as a boy? Because I'm a mom, I have a son, and, I had to come outside of myself and be able to tap into him. And if I saw something that was needed to be addressed, I had to go fight for that. But I had to also realize that I'm not the typical mother. And there's a lot of mothers that don't know how to tap into their boys.
Uh-huh. All right. Well,
That part. You see how that kind of like changed over into
uh-huh.
like the coaching phase. Like our boys need that. They need to hear how to get up out of there. So I want to know, what were you thinking at that time being a boy, and how did you get over that hurdle of that? Because they need that. Like you saw Juice World. We lost Juice World early. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? He was only 21. We lost Extension early. We losing our young boys. They're committing suicide faster than these girls. You know, not being able, scared too much to talk out, scared not to be soft enough, let their emotion go, or just being able to hold on and not releasing. They're holding it all inside of them. And we want to tap in, especially our mama, but they like, I can't let it go. So how did you kind of gauge that and be able to jump over that hurdle? And what were you thinking so we can learn how to tap into our kids so we won't have more situations like Juice World and all these other kids or kids that's committing suicide?
Well, before I answer that, I'll have to go into your statement when you said women want guys to open up, and like you want to help us out with that, but then we open up and it's too much. For one, it's not your job to heal us, right?
That's
It's your
true.
job. It's your job to heal yourself. It's your job to handle your own baggage. Like so, and then with that, it gets into our idea of our partner, our idea of the opposite sex, and our idea of what a relationship is. So a lot of women are taught that men are emotionless drones that go to work and give them money to spend from the work. So we have to educate ourselves on what a true that our partner is a human being, right? So we're a human being with an existence and a life before we met them, right? And then men have the idea that women are living sex dolls that can cook and clean for them, right? Now they're human beings. So we have to come up with this idea of outside of the roles that tradition has told us that what a parties need to play. We need to address the fact, be taught, and accept the idea that men and women have emotions. Uh, we all have reactions to wounds. We all have traumas that we need to have the tools to work through. So you now get to the second question of how did I get out of that? I didn't. right? So you can't get out of the situation that without help, right? You can't get a I was introduced to this was the only life I knew, right? I couldn't stop it. I couldn't do anything about it. I was a child in this situation. I couldn't get my own money. So I had no avenue out. So I just had to learn how to navigate in it. So that's when you get these, like when people go to jail and they get institutionalized, you adapt to your surroundings, you adapt to your environment and the conditions that you have to experience, because there's you can't find any way out without help. So fortunately for me, seeing people on these substances, I never wanted to do any drugs. I decided to never do any drugs when I was very, very young. So that aided me. Fortunately, with the way I learned, I did well in school. I don't have a problem learning information. And when I was old enough to really take life into my own hands, and someone came with an opportunity, presented me, I joined the Navy when I was 21. And then that took me away from, well, before that, my parents started going to church, and that stopped a lot of things, and that got me out of things, got changed the craziness in the house. And then a couple years after that, I went into the Navy. And then you don't really learn what happens until you out of the situation and you look back reflectively, right? If you
Mm,
don't have someone to help you out, right? Again, that's the importance of a coach. A coach can coach you in the moment. So, but if you don't have someone that can coach you in the moment, you're not going to learn what you need to learn until you're out of it. You can't go through it and see what you need to see at the same time. You can only see what's in front of you. You can only process the information that's immediately presented to you at the moment, right? But
right.
now, when you get out of the situation, then you can look at everything from start to finish, and then you can extract the lessons. That's why it's important for us to reflect. But I didn't start healing myself until I reflected on a lot of things later in life. You know.
Like I definitely hear what you're saying, and I definitely commend you for being the person that you have become today, because I'm pretty sure that that was not an easy process to go through. And I say that, just while we're having this platform or this show, we're talking about from trauma to triumph. We're on
Mhm.
transformative shifts. We're talking about trauma to triumph. And even, it really turns it makes me look at myself as a parent, right? And I feel
Mhm.
like anybody who watches this show right now, I want you to take that in, everything that Tyrone said. And he said he had to learn how to navigate within the brokenness. So within the home, he didn't know how to get out. You didn't know who to talk to. You don't know who to say something to, because you don't know what the consequences of that is going to
Right.
be. So
Mhm.
our children, so that means to tell me that even today, as our children go through these things within a home that's broken, that has trauma, that they're in their minds trying to figure out how to adapt to the situation. That's deep right there.
Right.
So here
Now,
you are. Yeah, I'm
then
listening.
when we, and then if you have a parent, or if you are the parent that is just the person who looks for an opportunity to yell at your child, or you're a person that believes in beating your child for everything, why would they come to you with the problem? Right? So if you're a person that believes in spankings, or whatever you call them, say for example, your child is struggling in school, they come home with a bad report card and they get beat, right? uh, that the most that the spanking taught them is don't get bad grades. The struggle is, how do I get good grades? The spanking didn't teach them how. You yelling at them didn't teach them how, right? So if I need help and you have already showed me that you're not the person that's willing to help me, my definition of a parent is a person that tells me my opinion doesn't matter. Uh, be quiet because you don't pay bills. Uh, I'm not talked to with respect. It's my belief, and I have 3 children. It's my belief that you should respect your children. Is my belief that you talk to your kids with respect. When you get out of hand and you overreact, you apologize, because at home is the first environment that you learn
Right.
respect. So many of us don't know what it's like to be respected. And where is the environment where we learn what it feels like to be respected, right? You have
Mhm.
that opportunity so that you don't do things, because when we don't know what respect feels like, we can get other things and process it as respect. We can see likes on a video that we posted and say that's respect. We can diagnose attention as respect, right? So since you don't know how that feels, you get in something and you do an act of violence, or you show anger or aggression, and that
Mm.
fear that they get, you think that fear is respect, but it's not. It's a fear response, right?
Mm.
So learning, and then since you were never respected as a child, and every position of authority talked down to you, told you to be quiet, just barked orders at you, that's what you think being an adult is. So when you take control, you think, oh, be quiet, you don't talk to me like that, I'm grown, can't nobody tell me nothing, I'm grown, because that's what you receive. That's not it, right? So when it comes to it, you're raising little people. You're raising little people that came in as a blank slate, and you have a chance to teach them respect. So if you show them that you respect them and what they're going through, then when they get the problems, they'll bring them to you. But and they'll be willing to. They won't think they have to listen to their stupid little friends who gonna guide them down the wrong path. But you gotta show them that there's respect and communication. So you know, I know how important that would have been if I had someone and during that time who said they was that showed me respect, right? Who respected where I was in my life and what was important to me at the time. And then, going out amongst my peers because I was in the condition that I was not accepted, I was not respected. So it's just you just shrink, and you learn how to be. In my case, I learned how to be invisible. You know what I'm saying?
Like I gotta write that down. Like I really appreciate you talking about this situation because a lot of our boys need to be tapped into as far as, how to adapt in certain situations, but at the same time learning how to express and who to express to.
Oh,
Um or
that just
not.
reminded me of something.
Right. And not
Yeah,
being, not feeling like they're alone in certain situations. Um, because our boys, I feel like they're fighting with that. And I am so fortunate. Like I told my son, I said, I am so grateful that I'm your mother. Right. Because I saw him. I seen him when I saw him going through, when I seen that it may be a problem here, I would go there or I would tap into him. But there were times when I was single mother. So being a single mother, and not being able to be that attentive, that's when I got into my issues. Working two jobs, leaving early in the morning, coming home after dark. There's no
mhm,
parent there. It's just him going to
right.
school. So he's having to pick up not only just his issues and going to school, but now he had to deal with coming home and nobody to talk to. I'm feeling some type of way. I don't know how to handle my problems, and my mom is not here. She working two jobs. I hate to see her working like this. So, but as I came home and started to pay attention to what was going on in the house and being reconnected with my son, that's when I start giving him the help that I feel like he needed.
Hmm.
And it's hard when you're a single parent and you're not able to connect in that capacity because maybe you have more than one kid. I'm so grateful that I have
Right.
one kid, that I can be tapping into. So that means that all these other kids are left out here unattended. And my
Right.
son does come to me,
Hmm.
with issues that go on, and we have conversation about it. The Holy Spirit told me one time that with our boys and with our young and girls and as teenagers, we're supposed to be able to have conversations with them, and they're supposed to feel bad. If it's serious, they're going to feel bad about what it is and come back to you and apologize. And when it comes to little children, we don't have to whip them either. We can learn through the art of play, you know with the smaller children. So I definitely thank you for that. But learning how to be invisible, like, and I'm the reason why I'm also expounding on this is because I don't think that people think about the psychological effects that come from that. And I'm not
Right.
talking about at the time that you're going through it. I'm talking about as you become an adult, those things that you went through as a child actually
Right.
has a psychological onset into your adult life. So, for me, I'm trying to think of which was one of mine. They put me in a role of being mother too early.
Mhm.
And so I was everybody's mom. I'm talking about even my stepmother.
Mhm.
Let me help you get dressed in the morning. Let me help you pick out your clothes. Let me help you pick out this. Oh, I got my brothers and sisters. I'm getting them. You got to get, oh, you got to have your hat. You got to have your scarf. Oh, it's almost time to go. Time to go. Time to go. So I was always that person on the go all the time and helping them take care of themselves, that when it came time to take care of myself back in it, as I got older, I was putting myself last because I was used to being put last.
Right.
I didn't have anyone be attentive to me, so it was like my own attentiveness, or at the same time it was like I always was their mother, even as an adult. My siblings like, hey, you not my mom, but sometimes they would come to me as mama because they were used to coming to me as mother, and I'm like, yo, I have my own cross, you got your cross, and I didn't even really realize to put that down until my little brother died. To where I said no. Like, I'm no longer your mother, I'm your sister. And I told my mother, no, I'm no longer your mother, I'm your daughter. So that psychological onset of what happens from that trauma in that childhood, you said you learned how to become invisible. That
Hmm.
was deep.
Well, that's the case for most people, right? So, you learn how to keep the things that will get the response that you don't want. You learn to hide those things, right? And then it's going to be a case where, say, for example, you have a son and he's a little boy, something happens, he's going to cry, he's going to go to cry, and you're going to stomp his emotions and tell him what boys don't do, right? And, you know, uh, we get these situations as far as we have acceptable roles that we learn as children, right? So something that we like in in the black community, sports is something that you're just supposed to do. If you're a black male and you can't run a ball for a potential white man in your future, what value do you have? You know what I'm saying? If you are a young black man and you can't run a football or you can't dribble and shoot a basketball, you are worthless. You dig what I'm saying? And
We got
that
a
is not,
problem.
yeah, that's really
We
not
got a
it.
problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem. And I say that because we put these titles on things, and then we put these titles on other people, and we don't even let them become themselves before we give them a
Right.
title and say who they are. And people look at me like, Shani, you crazy. I'm like, no, I'm serious. If my son does not like football, my son, okay,
Okay, so what?
coach, exactly, Coach Tyrone, when you
You
see
know?
my son is my son is taller than me, and
Right.
he has broad shoulders. He's a,
Mhm.
he do have a football build, but my
Right,
son will
but
tell
mind
you in
your
a minute.
business and stop trying to put my son in football because you
Yes.
see it, right? And then that is the whole, we get into this identity. People will say we're more than our bodies, we're more than our athleticisms, but we do it to ourselves. Oh, that boy need to be playing football. Oh, that boy need to be shooting some basketball. So why? And then next thing you know, we turn our children over to these programs, and then they're practicing they're practicing sports with all their time, and then they're grown and they can barely read.
Th-
You know what I'm saying? And when was they supposed to read? You told them, oh, don't worry about that. You're gonna go to the league.
Wait.
And then
So
some go ahead.
look at me. You see my face? Like, oh my God, go ahead, keep going, because I'm just sitting
And
up here.
then stuff is happening in the community. You got other little black kids that chose to go into gangs and they killing each other because their parents settled down on this side of town and their parents settled down on that side of town. And because of that, they got to kill each other. But then, oh man, don't worry about that. You go into the league. Oh, don't worry, don't get caught up in that. You go into the league. Then do the equivalent of hitting the lottery and make it to the league, and then they say, "Oh man, you sold out. You forgot where you came from. You need to do stuff for the community." My whole life, you've been telling me, "Forget all this. I'm going to the league." I make it to the league. Now I gotta care. Now I gotta care about it all. You know what I'm saying? We're not really thinking about what we're doing.
Wow, Coach Tyrone. Like, like I'm sitting up here laughing and I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh my God, like this is literally how it goes. I remember
Yeah.
going. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Do you anybody remember? I don't know if you remember Tractor Trailer. Um, they used to call him Tractor Trailer. He was the one. I can't think of his name that was in sports. I can't think of his. He was a basketball player, so he
Mhm.
was real big.
Right.
And at that same time, we had Willie Mitchell, which was a
Mhm.
basketball player in Persian. He was really top. Persian was one of the high schools in Detroit. If you wanted to go in sports, you went to Persian.
Right.
You graduated from Persian, you was in sports because they were like the best basketball team and football team. And I remember guys used to come in class. I would see them on the first day, on the
And
first day
not
of
see him
class,
again.
and that
Yeah.
do you hear me
Yeah.
not see them again no more?
Yeah.
And they be like, "Oh, they got an A in that class. Well, how did you get
Yeah.
an A? You didn't even come to class." Because they're
Right.
writing off of their basketball playing skills, running off their. I got another one for you. I was in Texas. I was actually working with three young ladies who were a part of a situation to where the school, there was a teacher at the school. She was having sex with the young boys in the school, and there was of course we upset. The parents came together, they talked about the situation, everything. And then there were other parents was like, I don't wait, I don't want to say nothing about this right here. I don't want to talk about this. My
Don't
son got a
mess up the
football
football. Yeah,
contract.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, this school is
Yeah.
for football, this school for basketball. I don't
Yeah.
know if I want to talk about what's going on with this over here. I'm like, hold up. So you mean to tell me you're not thinking about the fact that these kids were molested by an adult, which was a teacher,
Right.
and you're thinking
Right.
more about their football contract and their basketball contract than them as a person and what happened to them? This can affect them for the rest of their lives. Like, what is wrong with us?
Because that's their ticket. They done already planned out how their child's gonna go pro and they're gonna live off their child. You right. So they have committed so much to that vision that hey, don't mess this up. That's become the goal, right? That so we know that these big schools with the legitimate tie to upstreaming the athletes to a higher level of play all the way to the professional level. We know they are looking the other way on the grades. We know they cover up the things that they shouldn't do and things that shouldn't happen, because ultimately that's a lot of money even for the ones that don't make it. However, you know, the kids that make it, it's such a small percentage. What about the ones that don't?
And
And
but that's
now, go
yes,
ahead.
and that's trauma right there. That's
Yeah.
that's
And
that's
then they get
trauma.
spit out. They've committed what? How early? What's the youngest you've seen somebody? I've seen kids playing full tackle football, right? And then so let's say 10. Say you start playing football at 10. You go to college at 18. That's 8 years right there. If you play college football, that's another 4 years. That's 12 years of football. That's 12 years. And depending on the position you play, people running full speed trying to take your head off. Right. So we got young men with early CTE, right? And then say they don't even make it to the league. Their life from before they went through puberty has been football. Now you have no purpose in your life. You have no skill, you have no social skills, because if you were a star football player, that was the icebreaker. You have no social skills. You have no way to make money. You have no value socially. You're the dude that didn't make it to the league. You go from everybody riding and kissing up to you because you might make it, to being worthless because you didn't make it. And you have to figure out how to navigate that.
That part right there, and it's like I'm trying to hold my eyes together. I'm trying to hold my eyes together.
Right.
Because I'm mother.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? I'm mother,
And then
and
they trick us. They trick us because there's so much poverty in our community. So you see this young boy who's developing with this body type. He got this height for basketball. He's got this body for football, whatever it may be. Oh, this is my ticket out of poverty. And you're willing to pretty much prostitute your kid for this potential, for this potential long shot football contract, you know. And there's more options available.
I love this conversation, but it's a lot of our kids experiencing, okay, put it like this. I'm a mother,
Right.
and my son was going to this school.
Right.
We had a mentor come to the school to speak to the children. They were in fourth grade, and what he said to them was, LeBron James' mother sold drugs, so you guys can get out of this. Guys can get out of situations that you're in. Blah 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 blah. And he was trying to be that person that to inspire and encourage. But I said they was like, and my son came and was like, "Did you know that LeBron James' mother sold drugs?"
I've never heard that. I'm from Cleveland. Cleveland and Akron is an hour, less than an hour away from
And
each
it
other. I
may
didn't
have
know.
not been LeBron. It may have been somebody else. It don't even matter.
Yeah,
Just the
yeah,
point that you came to these young boys trying to inspire and encourage them, and you had the audacity to tell them that somebody's mother sold drugs in order for
yeah,
that is not the way to do it, or to tell them that
yeah,
LeBron James, whoever it was, even if it was LeBron James, even if it was a basketball player that sold drugs, you don't have to come in every community thinking that every child is going through the same thing, because they're not. And you have
right,
to be careful of what you're saying, because some children hold on to that piece.
right,
So are you coming to help, or are you a part of the problem? Because
right.
we all know that the drug abuse resistance education program, which was called DARE, that
There,
program
yeah, I
was
remember that.
supposed to come in to educate us about not to be on drugs, but it was really a program to introduce us to drugs so we can become on drugs. So let's just be real. So then I have
Mhm.
to look at you and say, are you a part of the problem? Are you a part of
Right,
the solution?
right. Well, these solutions that come from outside of our community typically aren't solutions. A lot of the times, history has showed us these things that get presented to us are really like they they're not helping us. When we get to a lot of the stuff that has been dropped into our community, didn't help us at all, but it allowed us to play the role that benefited the people that presented it to us, right? So when it comes to our trauma and getting out of the things, we have to have we have to let's see we have to first be exposed to the right stuff, right? Because when you broke, you think money solves everything, right? And if you're fortunate enough to get a lot of money and really look at what it brings, you see like money is not the absolute answer. There's
It
some
just
things.
helps. Right.
Right, right. Money doesn't fix anything that's going on internally. Yeah, money can fix a lot of stuff in the world. I mean, even the Bible says that money answers all things, but it doesn't fix anything that's going on inside of you. So when the problem is internal, when the problem is how you process the world, how you see the world, how you process what you're seeing, how you choose to act on what you're processing, that takes intentional work. You know.
So even with that, now that you are out of those situations, now that you're coming out of being invisible, you have excelled at being a great coach, being a mentor, being a husband, being a father, and it's we ain't all perfect, but we're getting
Right.
there. So,
Well,
what is your give back, or what is your words that you would give to that child or that young boy who is in that situation, who feels stuck at home and not being able to get out, whether their parents are on drugs like you went through, or whether their parents are just arguing all the time, or they're not seeing them for children that they are, or people are trying to put titles on them to tell them who they are and what they should be doing. Because my son, he tells me all the time, even his dad came up to him and was like, "You big. You need to play some football." And
right.
I don't want to play no football. I'm in the
Nah, you
anime.
good.
I'm in the martial
Right.
arts. I'm into
Yeah.
I'm in the archery. But respect that.
Yeah.
So
Respect that. Yeah.
right. So what do you say to those young boys or young women that's out there that feel like they have no way out and they have to become invisible, or they feel like that they have to adapt to that situation? So one, how do you help them? What do you say to them? And what are some of the solutions that we can do in order to reach those children?
Well, the solution is not a simple one, since
Hmm.
they are, especially when you're a child, you have no power in the situation. You have no say so in how things go. So, first, you have to figure out the specifics of your situation, right? So I can't give you any general information or do this, do that, because I don't know, right? If you do something, maybe you're being physically abused, maybe you're being sexually abused. If you have someone that you can go to help you get out of that, go to them, right? But you have to make sure you protect yourself as well as you can. Um, what I can tell you is stay away from drugs that people would give you. A lot of people would offer you drugs in the name of a good time or in the name of escaping some situation. That's not gonna help you. Um, it's just going to compound the situation, right? So when you get drunk or high, once you come down, once you sober up, it's the
Still
problem's
there.
still going to be there, and it also alters your body. It alters your brain function. So your brain is still developing. They say up until your mid 20s, your brain is still
Right.
developing. So now when you adopt your problem solving techniques is getting drunk and high, that's changing your brain. Like, say for example, look at somebody like DMX. You hear his story. Somebody exposed him to crack when he was like 14. So that means his body and his brain developed with a addiction to a very hard and very addictive substance, like nothing short of a miracle. He was never going to kick that. You know what I'm saying? So the drugs are not the answer. You need to work on your emotional intelligence. You need a genuine community of people that care about you. Now, these are, like I said, this is not an easy answer. It's not simple, but this is the things that, if I had these things growing up, maybe it wouldn't have taken me so long to undo the effects of the trauma. So, with what I dealt with, I just learned how to navigate invisibly. I could be in a room and you would not know I was there unless I wanted you to know, right? And you just think that that's how you have to go through life, but the most important thing you can do is if you have someone that can mentor you. What we can do in the community, we can have some type of outreach and present ourselves to people in these situations to teach them skills on how to make money for themselves, teach them skills on how to socially interact, how to have some confidence in themselves, how to find things that they want to do. Because if we just say go to college, college is not the answer, especially today. College is less of the answer than it has ever been in history, right? I can't say it's not the answer at all, but it's less. It's so little of the answer, and just get a job is not necessarily the answer. You need a community of people. and you need social skills. You need to know how to make your own money, right? You need to know these things. You need to know to how to believe in yourself and the importance of that, right? I feel like I've talked a while on that. I hope I gave a good answer though.
Okay. So you gave basically, you did give your information on you talked about emotional intelligence. We had to have more emotional intelligence, being able to have community, not to be really invisible, but to reach out to someone. You basically tapped on that. Um,
Mhm.
how we get out, because I guess that was one of your things where you felt like you were money deprived or didn't have those things and you had to get out and try to find your own way as far as making money.
Right.
So
That's
that's
not
definitely
destructive. Not
that's
selling drugs
not
either.
destructive, not
Not
selling drugs.
selling drugs.
Right, not destructive.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, what I took out of it is that we need to have more outreach programs within these communities to start connecting to the families so we
Mm.
can, start offering up solutions. Or
Right.
Big Brother, Big Sister program was one of the programs that I remember when I was a child that was really big about being mentors.
Mhm.
So maybe that's one of the issues too, because a lot of these kids, they don't have anywhere to go, they don't have anywhere to hang out at. They close the YMCA's or a lot of the gyms around, and the playground in the park is not the place. And so a lot of times they feel like they need an outlet. But we tapped on some really great things, really great things today. You talking about how you turn your trauma into triumph. So tell me about some of the great things that you're doing today, as far as coaching to help give back and what your business is.
Okay. When it comes to the coaching, what I've originally focused on is helping people get on stage, aspiring and current stage performers. I help them cultivate their image and the message that they want to present, how to properly present that message, and how to engage with the crowd. So the way that helped me, I started rapping and I started performing. That put me in positions to show some type of social value, right? And that made me attractive to people who didn't know me. So I'm not saying attractive in the case of my features, or being a physically handsome or attractive. I'm saying like being socially attractive, because when you come into a new room, you know, for to be specific, in the case of women, women pick their men based on after they get a clear idea of his social standing, you know. So when it, and you should have you might have to, if I'm not saying this clearly, you know, before you would go out with a man, no matter how cute you think he is or how nice he's dressed or whatever, he can be everything you like physically, but you have to get a clear understanding of who he is to other people, or how he's seen in the social group. Not saying he has to be popping, but you have to know who he is socially, and then so I help people with that because that helped me be able, it put me in a position where I could socially interact, right? So I help people with their confidence, with their image, and how to properly engage from the stage. And that's what I do in my business. I still make music. I just did my first master class. I'm going to do more of those. I'm working on ebooks. I'm working on a lot of self-development things. Um, and I just encountered somebody last night. Last night I was out judging a showcase. I was on the judge panel for a independent artist showcase, and you know, I encountered somebody that's going to. I'm basically I'm going to mentor them, personally mentor them, to help them get their confidence up. They don't have any. They don't know what they want to get into. They don't know what direction they want to go, but I know I can help them out personally, so I'm gonna start on that route. And
Wow.
you were on my master class, right? What did
Yes.
you think of that?
Yes, yes, yes. I was on your master class. You definitely gave great self-image perspectives. You talked about confidence, which is something we definitely need, especially when we're coming out here today, no matter what we're going through and what we're in. So I definitely heard I know you don't like to tap on the ministry, but I definitely heard the God within that. I did.
Right. Yeah.
So that definitely was a great masterclass to talk about image, confidence, and what we have to have in showing up, not just in the stage presence, but showing up in life. Period. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, that overflows into life. Like I said, I the stage got me out of the shell, the trauma shell, and then it motivated me to be more socially. So it bleeds, but you got to start somewhere. So
right? I
together,
get
take the
it.
Bible, a
Right,
little bit of leaven, go,
right.
leaven's the whole loaf.
But I love it how you just took it to the stage because a lot of people fear the stage. A lot
Right.
of people fear
Yeah.
being in front of crowds. So that
Yeah.
was like kudos to you to even, stand in the face of fear and be like, okay, I'm going to the stage first. And
Yeah.
me, I've been speaking since I was a child. So when I come in front of a stage, it's like, oh, what's this? So I could definitely come from a different aspect of that. And
Yeah.
that's why this podcast is so natural and I can speak to anybody because public speaking is definitely my thing. So I get
Mhm.
it, but I love how you can come from that person of being invisible to being
Mhm.
on a stage. Now that is powerful,
Mhm.
and a lot of our young people need to see that that's right there. It's called facing your fears.
Mhm.
Facing your fears, not running from them, not acting like they don't exist, but
Right.
facing it so you can get over it. So I
Right.
I commend you on that. I definitely commend you on that. Do you have any social media following where people can find you at or find your information?
Um, I like Instagram the most, but I have social media accounts on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And it's classified. That's the name. It's KLAZIFIED because my artist name is Classic, which is a contraction of classified sick. Like do not gets don't, classified sick makes classic. So my social media, if you search on those platforms, KLAZIFIED, you'll get me. I'm wearing the same hat, got the same beard, and so you'll see me.
Are you from Chicago?
Nope, I'm from
Okay,
Cleveland,
you from
Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. That's right. You did say Cleveland.
Well,
Oh,
I was in Virginia. I had an event, and I was wearing some. I had some pink in it, and I wanted something with some pink in it.
okay,
So
got it.
this was
That's
the
all right.
only thing.
You did
Yeah.
say you was Cleveland. Okay. So yes, you heard it right here. Where to contact you at? It's at classified. That's basically on Instagram. You said you're more active on Instagram. We
That's
definitely
my
touched
preferred.
right, right. We definitely touched on some great points today. We talked about educating our what is this? Learn how to navigate in it as far as in situations. You said you learn how to navigate within a situation as being in the household. You adapted
Mhm.
to the environment and conditions, which basically put it back on us as parents that we need to set up environments that would be great and conducive to the child as opposed to the child being conducive to us. So that was
Right.
definitely a great perspective to see it in, to throw it back on the parent. So we want to create those best environments.
Right.
Learn how to reflect on situations that was in our past, so even though we're out of that situation, if we learn how to reflect on it, then we can give a great analysis or psychological effect to face what it is that we have to face today. That may be an onset of what it was, and get
Right.
help if we have to. So that's great. You also talked about the psychological effect and knowing how to respect children and not just have them respect us because we're the parents. You talked that we should have respect for our kids. So what we expect from them, we should be expecting from ourselves to give them, so they'll be able to know how to go out in the world and deal with other people in that same perspective. So
Right.
that we talked about that. You talked about barking orders. You talked about learning to be invisible. How that's not the best thing because it comes out later. You're learning how to hide things that we shouldn't hide those things, or learn how to become invisible. But if we have issues or young boys have issues, they need to reach out to somebody to try to tap into somebody to get that help. And again, you talked about how it could be on different perspectives as far as what they feel that their issues are. Um, you talked about community. Community was so important that we need to have more outreaches to tap into our children so they can build up that emotional intelligence and learn how to deal with those situations. I love this. I loved it. You gave a lot of solutions. You gave a lot of insight. Again, going back to what I said earlier, it's not easy for men to come on here on these platforms or boys to kind of like reveal what they had went through within their
Right.
situations. But it's powerful when they can because by the Bible says that pride comes before what? Before what?
Fall. A fall.
Exactly. That part. So if pride comes before a fall, then we have to get to a place where we drop down pride. Pride has to fall.
Right.
It has to be a wall that has to be chipped away and destroyed because we won't be able to connect to the people that we're supposed to connect to get the help that we're supposed to get in order for us to come out. And we have to go to God to get that. And I know I heard you say earlier that no, it's not a woman's place to help. It's not a woman's place to help a man heal, but yet she's in that situation going through it with them because it says, how can two walk together unless they agree? But at the same time, when we come together, we are coming together to become one. So, in the process of coming together to become one, yes, you have your own cross, I have my cross, but now our crosses are coming together, so we are helpmates to one another. So, I feel strongly about that, but at the same time, I do feel like that when broken people come together, we bring our brokenness onto each other. When we got to go back to God, we got to go get back to God, and we got to get back to God, knowing that God is the source within that.
Indeed.
Indeed. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for what you do. We'll be checking you out with that stage presence and that confidence, inspiring other people who want to come out. You know where to find him. He told you where he was at, and
Right.
I look forward to seeing more. And I just really thank you for coming on the show today.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope. Well, when you were going over everything we talked about, I was like, "Oh, we did talk about that." But I was hoping that I didn't, give you a trash episode.
No, no, no. You don't. You didn't. You didn't. You did. You did great. You did great. We definitely. That's why I love taking notes. I take notes through all my podcasts so I can reflect on what we talked about because we can talk about so many things. But again,
Right.
it's called transformative shifts. So
Mhm.
in that process, it was all about trauma. We talked about trauma. How to get out of situations, how to face situations, and also how to heal from them later. And we talked about solutions within that. So we are good. We are good. I just want to say thank you. You gave us the information of where to reach you. You said classified. You guys got that. It's Klazified. Go look for him.
That's
Go
it.
look for him. If you want to get into rapping, you want to get a coach. You want to receive a coach that's going to actually help you with that confidence to come in front of everybody. Don't forget to
Yeah.
reach out.
Not
You
just
heard it
rapping
right
either.
here. Not just rapping, just other
Rap,
things.
poetry, public speaking, singing.
Woo!
I can help you out, man.
All right. So you know who to come from, Mr. Tyrone Thomas Classified. Go search for him. All right. And
All right.
again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And
Thank
you
you for
have a
having me.
great day. Yes, no problem.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
All right, guys, you heard it right here. You heard it right here on Transformative Shifts. Again, we are on Transformative Shifts. This is a show that's all about shifts. It's about things that you went through in life, giving that testimony, attesting to what you went through, understanding that we can all get through it, understanding that it's people out here like Coach Thomas Butler and like Shayna Asby, and we're trying to assist you with getting through that process because we went through it. So if you ever need a coach, you want to reach out, you can reach out to Classify so you can get that confidence in public speaking and different things like that. You are not alone. I just want to give this message. You are not alone in anything that you go through. There has been somebody somewhere who has went through that situation or maybe even situations that's worse than yours. But know that you are not alone and that you can reach out to somebody to get that assistance or that help. And make sure you reach out to the right person, not to a substance, not to a thing to idolize. No. And call on God. That part. and know that you can come through it just as we have went through our trials and tribulations. We have came on the other side of it, that you can get through it too. So I just want to leave you with that note. Again, this was Transformative Shifts. We had our very own Tyrone Butler coming to us. I'm sorry, Tyrone Thomas. I apologize, Tyrone. Oh Lord, Tyrone Thomas, classified, that was talking about that being that person from triumph, from trauma to triumph, and how to get through it and how to get over it. So you heard it, guys. You heard it, young men. If you are that person, you don't have to be invisible. Speak up and reach out. And outreaches, we have more work to do. We have to come together with community. We have to do the work. So again, I just want to thank you all for being an audience for Transformative Shifts, and I look forward to seeing you later. Have a great day. Peace. This is Shayna Asby, the Family Life Coach. Bye.